All right, so that's something I think a lot of us are starting to see more and more. Our shopping malls are busier than normal. But let's continue to talk about the impact on COVID-19, particularly within our academic institutions. And I'm joined now by Ari Katz, who's the CEO of the Boston City campus. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Peter.
All right, so quite a few things we've just heard now from the students' perspective of what's happening, and some of the things that came out from that conversation. And one thing that I heard quite a bit was this blended education, this mix between face time and online time. The way you're set up at Boston, it's almost as if you were preparing for an eventuality like this.
Yeah. So Boston City campus has been for many years fully online. And our institution, and of course the students, are not going to be affected in any way whatsoever. Students will continue to study. All the lectures, all the tuition has been pre-recorded. But it's important to remember that it's not just about recording lectures. Education is much more than tuition online. Education is a total experience. So what I mean by that is that students need to interact with their lecturers, with their educators. They need to interact with their peers. They need to upload assignments. They need to get feedback on assessments, etc. And our back office technology that we've been using for quite a number of years already caters for all of that. We use an artificial intelligence tool which identifies students at risk and intervenes or gets the educators to intervene. So with COVID-19 coming in, our students are not really going to be affected in any way whatsoever, other than the fact that those learners who might have gone to colleges or campuses to utilize the technology will now have the option of doing that, or actually of studying from home or from work or from wherever they have access to the technology. But the next time that we need to see a student will be actually when they're writing exams in the end of May, beginning of June.
All right, so now that this is playing out, what are some of the things that the education institutions should be doing? Let's start with trying to manage the whole thing of getting through syllabuses and finishing studies so that, people don't lose their qualifications.
Yeah, so I think it's really critical that institutions embrace, and I think this might be in fact the catalyst to leapfrog institutions into the 4IR world, so to speak. And those institutions that haven't yet embraced the technology and the 4IR world now need to get to grips with this, because it's not just merely a question of placing tuition online. As I mentioned, education is a much greater experience than that. And so the challenge that those institutions are going to have is that putting the tuition online is only one aspect, and what they're going to have to learn is the pedagogy around how do you integrate the lectures together with the assignments and the feedback and the assessments and that whole methodology whereby you still allow for online interaction between learners and their peers and educators, etc., and you still maintain the integrity of the learning experience. And so that's going to be critical. That's really going to be the challenge, not just the question of putting it online, because putting lectures online is really about content, and education isn't only about content. Education is much deeper than that. And the challenges they're going to have is how do they learn those methodologies to integrate all the different opportunities and all the different aspects that are needed to create or to create a rich learning experience.
All right, I suppose in the current scenario, it may be a lot of things need to happen very quickly, but certainly it's likely that we will have these kinds of things happening again in the future. So we need to prepare and learn from this current scenario. How do you manage things like safety? Because sometimes you must go into campus, you must go into a lab, and so on and so forth.
So what we have 45 centres around South Africa, and of course the hygiene protocols will have to be followed for those learners who do going to utilise the facilities. And of course within that we have all the regular hygiene facility, protocols of sanitising and 2 metre distances between PCs and all that kind of stuff. But really the next time that learner has to come in will be when they write exams in May, June. The challenge really on the other side for our Boston Media House students is that a lot of those qualifications also require practical use of practical equipment. So whether it be radio or television or video or photography or animation or graphics, those students, in addition to the theory, which they might be able to do online, they will have to come in, and we're currently scheduling a program where those students will come in, albeit in smaller groups, to utilize those technologies and to do their practical work.
So exams are going to be another issue, aren't they? And
well, we'll deal with that by June.
What does one do though? Let's say, because some people are supposed to be writing ongoing assessments.
So we do the ongoing assessments. That happens, correct? That's happening already, and happens online, and feedback happens online, etc. So that already happens. It's the summative assessments that will take place in June, where we'll have those challenges, and we might have to schedule multiple sessions thereof. But we have a bit of time in which to work that out and address that.
All right. Ari, always run out of time when we have these conversations, but thanks so much indeed for joining us.
One of the things, if I may mention just in parting, is also for basic education for high school kids, because I think that's going to also be a challenge. Those kids don't want to lose the year, and there are multiple resources that are available online, many of them free, many of them paid for, which would actually assist those learners to keep pace so they don't have to fall behind. One of which I may mention is to look on what was it, rvdigital.education. Might be one platform, but there's Khan Academy and others.
Okay, so there could be some online solutions in the interim, certainly, so that you don't lose time. Ari, thanks so much indeed for joining us.
Thanks for
your
time.
insights always greatly appreciated.
Great, thank you.